The Soviet Union's approach to aircraft design was unlike anything else in the world. Prioritizing robust, cost-effective designs over high-tech refinements, they mass-produced a variety of aircraft for both their military and civil needs. While this led to some highly successful models, it also produced more than a few failures. Whether due to political influence, bad luck, or plain engineering missteps, the following 10 Soviet aircraft became infamous for their flaws and limitations. So, let's take a walk through the rusting graveyard of Soviet skies to explore the 10 worst Soviet aircraft ever built, with dates marking their inglorious beginnings. 1. Lavochkin Lob-7, 1944. The Lob-7 was an attempt to improve upon the successful Law-5, but instead, it became notorious for its poor reliability and susceptibility to engine fires. Introduced in 1944, the Law-7 was initially expected to dominate air combat, yet engine issues kept it grounded much of the time, making it far less useful than intended. 2. Tupolev Tu-144, 1968. Known as the Concorde-ski, the Tu-144 was the Soviet Union's attempt at a supersonic passenger plane, competing with the British-French Concorde. The plane's ambitious design made it vulnerable to technical malfunctions. After a series of deadly accidents and a famously disastrous crash at the Paris Air Show, the Tu-144's commercial flights were halted, marking it as a legendary failure in Soviet aviation. 3. Yakovlev Yak-38, 1971. Developed as the Soviet answer to the American Harrier, the Yak-38 was designed as a vertical takeoff and landing (VTOL) aircraft for the Soviet Navy. Unfortunately, it had poor performance, limited range, and was notorious for mechanical issues. Its vertical flight capabilities were unreliable and many were lost in accidents, making it one of the least effective combat jets. 4. Myasishchev M4 Bison, 1953. The M4 Bison was the Soviet Union's first attempt to produce a long-range strategic bomber. However, its range and performance never lived up to expectations. Despite its imposing design, the M4 required extensive modifications and support to function even minimally, often placing it in a supporting role rather than a leading bomber. 5. Antonov An-10, 1957. Known as Ukraine after the Soviet state that produced it, the An-10 was a passenger airliner infamous for structural problems, particularly in its wings. These design flaws led to multiple accidents and grounded the aircraft permanently in the 1970s. The An-10's failure was a significant setback for Soviet civilian aviation. 6. Tupolev Tu-22, 1958. As the Soviet Union's first supersonic bomber, the Tu-22 had a promising start. However, the aircraft quickly became known for its poor maneuverability, troublesome engines, and high accident rate. The Tu-22 required special handling and had such an unreliable record that it became a notorious symbol of Soviet military aviation mishaps. 7. MiG-23, 1967. The MiG-23 was a fighter jet designed for versatility, featuring a variable sweep wing to allow for flexible speeds. However, it suffered from control issues, particularly at low altitudes, which led to numerous crashes. Its complexity also made it costly to maintain, and its reputation suffered as a result, especially in comparison to the more successful MiG-21. 8. Ilyushin Il-86, 1971. The Il-86 was the Soviet Union's first wide-body airliner, intended to be their answer to Western models like the Boeing 747. However, its limited range, inefficient fuel consumption, and lack of in-flight refueling capabilities severely restricted its utility. Though it saw some commercial success, it never performed at the level expected of a modern airliner. 9. Sukhoi Su-24, 1970. The Su-24 was designed as an all-weather attack aircraft. While it was operational, the Su-24 was prone to a number of design flaws, including an unstable control system and mechanical issues that made it unreliable. With a poor safety record, it became known as one of the more problematic planes in the Soviet fleet. 10. Mil-Me-12, 1968. The Mil-Me-12 was an ambitious Soviet helicopter design intended to carry massive payloads, with the largest rotorcraft ever built at the time. Its scale was impressive, but it suffered from severe stability issues. The Mi-12's massive size proved too challenging to handle, and it failed to meet operational standards, ultimately leading to its cancellation. Final thoughts. Why the Soviet approach didn't always work. The Soviet Union was able to produce numerous reliable and impressive aircraft, but its focus on quantity and rugged simplicity sometimes led to tragic flaws. While some of these planes were promising on paper, poor design execution and lack of refinement ultimately held them back. In the race for military supremacy, not every design was a success, and these 10 aircraft serve as a reminder of the risks and missteps that come with such ambition.